Welcome back to the Just Men podcast, where we talk about all things masculinity and men things. I'm one of your hosts. My name's Jeremy.
And I am Byron.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Hope you guys enjoyed our last episode.
I don't know what I was doing there. I was waiting for something. I'm sorry, Jeremy.
No, it's okay. That's okay.
I ruined your flow.
We're working on it. This is episode 2. We're working on it. But Byron, so in our first episode, hopefully you guys liked that one. You enjoyed it, and you're back again for some more.
It was a massive success, I've seen.
Oh,
Like, we've literally taken the world by storm.
love to see that. We haven't even released it yet at this point. We're recording, but that is our hope.
It's movie magic, man. Movie magic.
I see. Anyway, we're back with another episode, and Byron, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about all things relationships as men, dating scene, and what it's like in this modern age as a well-adjusted male figure.
So, just straight off the bat, have you, someone as muscular and good-looking, and as you can see, for the first time we've got video of ourselves, we decided to try put some video so you can put a voice to a face, and if you're just listening in from Spotify or Apple Music, you'll have to log online to see what Byron's chiseled jawline actually looks like in the flesh. But yeah, Byron, for yourself, just straight off the bat, very short answer.
Yes.
Do you believe in the modern day and age dating is difficult for a man?
I'm going to say yes, initially.
Yep.
100% yes. Yep, that is the short answer. And but I'm curious, what's your short answer, Jeremy?
I, as a anime loving, all boys school attending, romantic at heart kind of dude, yes. I would say agree with you that initially, yes, it is quite difficult.
I thought you were going to power trip me there and be like, hell no, man.
Not at all. It is difficult until you learn how to date. It is a skill. So I will make the proclamation that dating is a skill and it can be learnt and you can get better at it. So
yeah, unfortunately, it's one of those skills that if you get good at it, you only really need it once.
yeah, until you find your person. But that being said, there's more than one way to live your life. So if you want more than one, if you want to date casually, if you don't want to settle down at all, that's perfectly fine. But we're going to discuss that today. What are the do's and the don'ts, the things that you should do, shouldn't do? What actually makes, a masculine man good at dating versus, a masculine man who's not good at dating, right? So that's what we're going to talk about in today's episode. Now, quick little plug before we get started. As you know, if you don't know, and it's your first time listening in, the two of us run the Just Men podcast. It's just Byron and myself. And as part of this little endeavor,
just men.
We're just men. And we've set up a Patreon. So if you like our vibe, if you like the kind of value that we're providing to you in this Our podcast, then feel free to consider checking out our Patreon. At this point in time, honestly, I don't think we've got a lot of tiers. We don't really have much of anything there. It's just
no, we have a tier.
It's just
tier where you can become a part of the most awesome group of men ever.
Yeah.
That is the tier currently.
We're working on a group name, but right now Byron is B, I'm J, so yeah, we're the BJ fam.
Yeah, BJ men.
We're BJ men, so that's exactly what it is. So yeah, if you enjoy our vibe and you feel like you get a lot of value out of this, we'd be very grateful if you decided to head over to our Patreon. It's just at Just Men Podcast on Patreon. And feel free to join the BJ fam.
The BJ fam.
BJ fam.
Where
anyway,
BJs are every day.
100%. I'm part of a BJ. You could be part of a BJ too.
Do you want a BJ fam?
Okay. Let's get stuck into it. So dating in the modern world as a guy. Just to clarify where we're coming from.
Game face.
I'm a straight dude. I am interested in women. At some point in time, I think we will talk about sexuality at another point in time, but I think that's a whole nother can of worms. So let's just talk purely about dating as a masculine man.
Yes.
And, whoever you're into, whatever kind of person you're into, that's what we're going to be talking about today. So first things first, Byron, you said that dating is difficult in the modern day as a dude. Why do you think that is? Why do you think it's actually difficult for guys?
Oh, I think a big part of it is the role that social media has played in our understanding of what people do and do not like, right? And how to go about approaching situations.
Yep.
And then I think there's also a very big propensity for some small sections of the world to post people's attempts and shame them for it.
Yep.
Right? Regardless of how genuine and how, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Not romantic, but how, I guess naive an approach may have been. People like to shit on people for it.
Yep.
And that's a scary thing that can happen. And so when you see something like that, you're like, oh no, I don't want that to happen to me. And I also think people have become a little bit more sensitive to being rejected. Rejection is such a massively scary thing for a lot of people. And it's like, well, but it's not really. It's just that we don't get enough practice at being rejected early on in life.
I think it is synonymous rejection with failure. As in, I don't think a lot of guys like to fail or to admit that they failed at something, right? Because
it's because we're told failure is bad.
Yeah, we're told failure is bad. If
like in any facet of life, yeah,
you fail, you suck. Like, how dare you? It's not masculine at all. However, it's kind of ironic in the same way, right? Because people will also say in the same sentence, don't give up. If you're going to fail, learn from it and get better. And I think that applies to everything. So a quick background for me. I'm not as muscular, chiseled jawline like Byron is, right? I grew up in a school, all dudes. As I've said multiple times, majority of the school was, Australian Caucasian dudes. There was a Mediterranean group, I think. So lots of Greek guys, Italians, and that kind of thing. And there was in my year level, like 3 Asian dudes, and I was one of them. And so, we go to
Asian guys.
We go to school dances and stuff. And, same thing. It's just like, wow, I feel pretty out of my depth here. And I didn't learn until many years later. It would have been, again, late 20s when it all picked up. And I think it was under the same impression too, in that it's difficult for guys in the modern day and age. I think a lot of it has to do with perceptions of what is right, what is wrong, what we should do, what we shouldn't do. It's like, don't approach women. Don't do it.
No.
You're creepy.
Oh, it's the worst thing
you're threatening.
Can do. Oh, yeah.
And they just don't want anything to do with you. 100%.
And you will get cancelled for it.
You were cancelled. And if someone is recording you as well, 100% cancelled. And if they turn you down in a public place, don't even attempt it again. Don't even attempt it.
You've just triggered every insecurity I have, Jeremy.
Well,
all at once.
We're going to work on that, Byron. We're going to work on that. That's what this is all about. So let's.
No, it's all too real, though, right?
It is. But let's dispel some myths here as well, because I think from a very early age are told, and I think it's good advice from the start is, hey, respect women, respect people around you, especially respect people that you get along well with. Don't get into fights.
Yes.
Also, what else? What are some other advice that you're told as a kid in general?
Oh, no, I think the respect one is the main one, right? And like be polite and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then, look, especially when it comes to women, it's treating them like a princess.
Yeah.
So like they're always right, you're always wrong type deal, which I think has its own level of toxicity involved. But anyway,
we'll go down that little path in a bit too.
Yep.
But no, I think like straight up, it is good advice. Yes, respect women, especially people that you're interested in. And I think this is where a lot of guys will get confused straight off the bat, because you can still talk to someone, you can still approach them, you can still take some time out of your day and interrupt them slightly and do it in a respectful manner. Some people will say, and I've heard some of my own mates say this too. I said, oh, well, when I was getting into dating and learning more about it, I said, oh, did you want to come out with me and we can go talk to people and meet some people and see who we meet? I said, oh, no, I could never do that because, it's just too creepy. It's just too creepy. It's just too, I don't want to go up to this girl and ruin her night because I want to talk to her because she's pretty. It's like, well.
Yeah.
And, we hear stories about that all the time. You will see it on TikTok. You'll see people filming. You'll see, people trying to improve themselves.
It's a really sad occurrence.
It is.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that is how you meet people. You talk to strangers.
You shoot your shot.
You shoot your shot. And I think a very big misconception I think a lot of people have is, you should only do it when it's appropriate. And appropriate in this case could be, in a workplace social environment, when you're at school. And if that's all you learn, that's it. That's my dating pool. And so people say, guess the only other way I can go is to go to the apps. Off to Tinder I download. Off to Grindr. Off to Hinge. What's hot and popping these days, Byron?
Actually, I don't know beyond those three. I've heard of those. Oh, there's Bumble, right?
Bumble's
a dating app.
Yeah, it is.
No, the thing is, when people turn to dating apps, it probably feels like a more level playing field, right? Like everyone is supposedly there for the same reason.
Yeah.
Like you have an immediate indication that people might be available, therefore it's less scary. And there's a level of anonymity behind it all as well.
Yep.
So it's like trying to dispel some of those fears and barriers that people actually have. But I don't know. I know we're going to get into this a little bit as well, but dating apps, Jeremy, I don't think are a particularly good answer. And sure, there's plenty of stories of people who have met their one true love through a dating app, but
I'm not going to put it down completely. I think there's a place for it in modern society, but I think with dating apps becoming the only way that people know how to meet other people, I think it's becoming an increasingly valuable skill to be able to talk, to meet, and get along with somebody in real life when those opportunities present themselves.
100%. A lot less competition for you at the moment.
At this point in time, it's my favorite thing to do. So come on, boys, jump on board. Okay. So
do we really want to teach them how to compete with this? I mean,
well, look, we're about providing value. So we're going to give you the knowledge, and it's up to you what you want to do with it. Okay? Because
that's fair.
I think the problem with a lot of advice people give out there is it's very easy to listen to. Like, I know that. Yeah, that's 100% something I can do. But how many people actually take action on it is a different story, right? So
not enough.
So we can establish so far it's difficult for a guy in the modern world with dating because it's confusing to know, should I or shouldn't I? Is it appropriate to approach someone? Is it appropriate to not? Is my only option dating apps or is it not? So to sum up this kind of portion of the podcast is it difficult? Yes, it's difficult, but it's not difficult if you know what to do and if you take the right action. Some of those right actions include giving yourself permission to talk to strangers, giving yourself permission to know that it is okay for the most part, to approach a stranger and start a conversation. And, will you look creepy? Will you be disturbing this person? Will you be interrupting them? There is a possibility, absolutely. But at the end of the day, you won't know until you talk to them. So,
definitely.
Step one, I would say, is you can talk to people. You can talk to strangers, and it is fine.
What does that conversation look like, Jeremy? Like, if I am a struggling man in the modern age, and you say, Byron, go talk to this person, I'm already starting to get weak at the knees. Like, my mouth's going dry, my hands are getting clammy. Oh my goodness, what am I doing?
Mum, spaghetti is coming. Let's go. All right. So, So this is advice, and when I as a social skills coach, that's the most common thing that I get asked. How do I talk to a girl without getting nervous or embarrassed? We could go into the deep dive mindset kind of thing, and that's a whole nother can of worms. But to answer your question very directly, what do I do? Number one is quite simply walk up to them and say hi. And it can be hi. You can do that, but it can look at something as simple as, hey, excuse me. Hi. Hey, excuse me. I wanted to just come and say hi to you. And that can be the very first sentence. Right? And, there's different ways of going about it. You could observe something about them. You could observe, like, hey, excuse me. I couldn't help but notice your hat is really unique. Where did you get it from? I couldn't help but notice that, you're looking at my favorite anime. What's this? Avatar. You can watch Avatar. You're looking at Avatar on the shelf. Who's your favorite character? There's a million different ways to start a conversation. But nearly every single one of them starts with excuse me or hello. Right?
Yeah, that's probably the key point, right?
Yeah. It doesn't need to be...
You actually have to Well, it's an automatic interruption.
Oh, that's exactly what
And
it
they're
is.
not going to know you exist until you go say something.
Yeah.
So whenever you're worried about interrupting people, it's like, well, you have to be comfortable with the idea that that's what has to take place to even begin.
It's a necessity. Nobody has ever become friends or noticed someone else by what's something I used to do as a younger lad. It's like, yeah, let's look cool and edgy and stand in the corner of the room and someone's going to notice me. Someone's going to come and talk to me. You know how many times that worked, Byron? Zero. Zero.
Damn, I was going to guess 0.
If you guessed 0, you would have been right, because let's be real, no one's going to start a conversation with you if you are that antisocial, guy in the corner with his headphones in, trying to look all cool.
But I can surely be the most, interesting person somehow if I'm doing something cool, and people will naturally gravitate towards me, won't they?
Yeah, so what kind of cool thing are you doing? You're doing backflips on a table? Are you playing guitar or whatever else you're doing?
I'm blinking at a rapid pace. That's my talent.
Just look at them in the eyes and just blink. It's really fast. Is that what happens?
I think it's more creepy than actually going and saying hi to
It is.
someone,
It really is.
I think you're on something here.
I think so. There's a lot of different elements to this, and obviously this is just a one portion of it. But there is something called social proof, and social proof is quite simply where someone can very easily see that you're someone who is popular, you're someone who is high value, you are someone who is able to talk to other people very easily, you're someone who is able to laugh and smile a lot, and people enjoy being around you. So social proof is all of these things that someone can see at a glance when they look at you. But for the most part, for a complete stranger, they're not going to know that about you. You know, it could be a person walking down the street. It could be that pretty girl working in the shop. It could be someone doing a delivery run. It could be anything.
Yeah.
You meet people every single day. And for the most part, we don't want to be noticed. We don't want to go out of our way to, say, how's your day going? We don't want to go out of our way to, give someone a compliment because...
I mean, we even avoid going through the checkouts with people on them in the shopping centers now, right?
Exactly.
People use self-service. Why would you want to talk to somebody?
Exactly. And, when we make it so easy, it's so easy to not talk to anybody in your day. It is actually quite difficult.
Do you think it's a bigger problem for men versus women then? Like, if the role was reversed and a woman wanted to approach a man, do you think they have the same issues that we do?
That's a very good question. I'm glad you asked that question. And I think it's a similar problem in that, say a girl wants to make friends or a girl wants to approach someone to talk. It's a lot more difficult, I believe, for a lady for a variety of reasons. Number one is safety. They have no idea who they're talking to or, what kind of person this is going to be. It's, if they are talking to someone, they make the effort to go talk to someone. It gives them, whoever they talk to, the impression, oh, this person is willing to talk to me, regardless of, who started the conversation. Well, in this case, the lady started the conversation. The lady's giving the impression, hey, I'm open to talking. And it's a little bit more difficult at that point in time for them to exit the conversation since they started it, right?
Yeah.
Number one is safety. But I think number two is societal expectations, standards, and impressions. Because in the same way, if a girl goes up and talks to a guy and tells him, hey, I kind of like your vibe, I'd like to get to know you a bit better. Is that seen as a brave move, or is that seen as a quote unquote slutty thing to do, right? Because they talk to people. A lot of people say, yeah, that's girls shouldn't be doing that. That's not right. That's not very womanly. It should be the guy's job.
Yes.
Right. So they have risk of not just, a safety thing, but it's also this impression of being, too forward or, not ladylike or something. Right. Yeah. And, in the modern day and age, a lady can absolutely, start a conversation. There's absolutely no issue with it. But I think that there's a lot more at stake if a girl was to,
Yeah, well, because I wanted to ask, obviously, being able to understand what it's like for the opposite side, and it's not just for women. I'm sure guys suffer, like guys who are approaching guys suffer from this as well. Mm-hmm. But if we understand the mind of our enemy, quote unquote, then
enemy,
we can actually do something towards overcoming it for ourselves. Like, knowing that people of the of someone who you're interested in might be experiencing the same sort of reservations about talking to you as you do.
Yep.
Well, it takes somebody to be brave and start the conversation, right? So why leave it to someone else? Like, as a healthy masculine male man, like, is it up to us to then take the front foot?
Take initiative.
Like,
as
is
we
this
say.
what helps? Yeah.
Look, I would say there is little disadvantage to taking the initiative as a man, because it is, as you might describe it, a masculine trait to want to take charge, want to be the person who's in the control of the situation.
Yeah.
And, to our previous point, for a guy to start a conversation with a complete stranger, it is, there's a risk to everything that we do, but the risk of the trade-off of a man starting it versus a lady starting it, it's, would be seen as very brave of a man to do so, very suave, very charismatic of a guy to start a conversation. So there's a lot fewer, I guess, risks a guy would take if they start a conversation versus a lady. So at the end of the day, anyone can start a conversation. It's, the ball's in anyone's court, really. But if you're a guy and you are struggling to meet people and you're waiting for someone else to talk to you, you have, in essence, a lot more power than you realize to take control of the situation.
Yeah.
So
100%.
So in terms of just starting a conversation or wanting to meet people, it's a lot easier for a guy to get out there and do it, because there's a lot fewer risks. And it's typically seen as a more masculine thing to do, to take charge, meet people, be that person who's at the center of attention in the room. It's a lot more.
I've got to agree with you, because it certainly does work.
Oh, I'm glad. Have you done that yourself? Have you decided to take the reins and start conversations?
Well, I think I'm a bit annoying in the sense that I love starting conversations with people, and I would always be happy to be on the front foot. And part of that comes from, like, I guess, a little bit of natural confidence. And, like, I'll be honest, going to the gym and working in finance and sales and all these sort of places has definitely given me a few extra tools to start these conversations. But no, I always thoroughly enjoyed, being that person who took control. And in a, like, mischievous and cheeky sense, it was fun to sort of see how people would react, in the most respectful manner, of course. I think where I was probably a bit, surprisingly a bit, like, I guess maybe you wouldn't guess, but I never would ever pull the trigger, like, in terms of taking it beyond a conversation. I'd just be like, haha, I can have these conversations, but that's where it stops. Have a good day.
Oh,
And
so
then
you
I
would
just
never
think,
kind of turn a conversation from, let's start a conversation, into, hey, I'm kind of interested in you. We should go out for coffee or something.
No. And the crazy part is, like, I would get plenty of offers for it, right? And I'd just be like, nah. And this is a whole different kettle of fish in terms of my mindset went to things like, oh, this could end up really bad.
Right.
Like, oh, what if it came down to trust issues, or it came down to being exposed, or maybe this person had ill intent, or like, I got in my own way thinking that, because I have a small social media presence.
Right.
I thought maybe this person might be fishing for something, and therefore when they finally could get underneath my collar a little bit, perhaps they would pull the rug out from under me, and I'd be like, oh no.
So do you feel
I've been
at the
badly
time when you were a single man, were you like, let's say, scared of dating, or what was your biggest apprehension, I suppose? Because you, by the sounds of it, you were getting propositioned left, right, and center by everyone you talked to, just by being this
it was
fun, chatty guy.
It was trusting people and letting people in, right? Like, I think it can be, and this is the other part, it's not just a confidence thing sometimes, it's an actual a trust thing.
Yeah.
Right. To be able to engage with somebody on a slightly deeper level than just, the superficiality of being, friendly and talkative, can be scary. It means you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable to another person. You have to invite them into your inner sanctum, and doing that can have consequences. And if you've been burned before or not been burned, we see plenty of horror stories for it. And sometimes that's enough for people to never jump back on the horse. But no, it is, I think, sometimes more than confidence, it's the ability to trust that I think that makes dating really tricky.
That's a very good point. I think you brought up a brilliant point. Apart from confidence, because I think at some point in time, hopefully, for anyone listening too, this you will not care about, oh, what's that guy going to think if I, talk to this pretty girl over here? Like, is he going to watch on and think, oh, what a loser? Like, why would he talk to her in broad daylight? Like, why would you do that? Only do it at the bar with your workmates.
How
like,
could you?
Gosh, how could you? But yeah, I think there's going to be a tipping point between, just wanting to meet someone and talk and have fun and go on dates versus how do I measure up or, make this something a bit more? How do I tell if this is someone who's going to be relationship material? How do I tell if it's someone I can actually open up to? But yeah, I think it really depends on, where you're at in your life for
just on that question then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like in terms of intent when going into this sort of like dating scene, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody has a different or can have a different idea of what they want from going and meeting people. And I'm not going to say anything is right, like one thing is right over another. Like if you want to meet people so that you can have a good one night and, say thank you very much for your time and go on your way, I don't think there's anything wrong with that as long as both people are going into it eyes wide open and they understand the outcome and the expectation. But, some people just want to meet more than one person, like, play the field a little. Oh, I shouldn't say play the field. It sounds terrible, but play the field a little bit and meet a few people at a time or whatever it looks like. And some people want to find their one true love and go down the route of, I need to find my future wife and mother of my children. So is there something in terms of, because I don't think any one of those is more masculine than another. Right. And I really want to dispel the notion that the guy that goes out and beds 50 women is like the alpha male, peak masculine, like look of the modern age. Because I think that guys who do that and hurt other people are a lot more insecure than people who, go out and sleep with 50 women, but the 50 women absolutely loved it and were thankful for their time. So, but how does one go about this, Jeremy?
You make a very good point. Because I think this is the whole notion of, the higher the body count that you've got, the more manly you are. That makes me more manly than this guy who has been dating his high school sweetheart and they've been happily married for, 30 years and he's not as manly. Like, how do you measure that? Right. And to me, the most masculine thing that you can do is to do your utmost to respect yourself in a relationship, for one. But number two, and I will never forget this quote that I learned from a dating coach that I was following for a long time, is he said, whenever you meet someone and it's, someone you want to have a good time with, you want to date for however long it's going to be, a short time, long time, doesn't matter, leave them in a better place than when you first met them. Right? So,
this is what I wanted to hear.
Yeah. So the experience that they get from spending time with you should make them feel happy. It should make them like and treasure the experience that you guys had, regardless of, whether it be a night or whether it be, a year or 10 years, whatever it is. Just at the end of the day, you treat them well, you treat them with respect, you have some fun, you're both on the same page, and you openly communicate what you're both after. Because
and I think that's the most healthy masculine thing that you can do, right? Because what's the downside to? Because let's be honest, not every date or relationship that you start or get into is necessarily going to end up in the ideal scenario you were hoping for.
Absolutely not.
So, and if it ends in heartbreak and disaster, and you end up making that person feel 10 times worse than when they started their journey with you, the one thing we cannot get more of as humans is time. So that time you've invested in each other, do you want them to look back and be like, oh, you know what? I had a good time. Or do you want them to look back and be like, I regret every single moment I spent with that person for the last 4 years. And it's a genuine thing that I think people need to think about.
Yeah. I think it is one of those things too, because a lot of people, when they finish a relationship, it ends. It's very easy to say, that 3-year relationship, I just wasted 3 years. Right?
Oh,
but I think you got to ask yourself as well is, when you're in that relationship for 3 years, did you grow as a person being with that person? Did you learn anything? Did you grow professionally? Did you grow personally? Did you learn a lot of things about the world? It's one of those things too, because I was definitely in a 6-7 year relationship which ended after 6-7 years, and absolutely I was hurt and I was crying and I was thinking, God, I've gone from my early 20s to my late 20s and I feel like that period of time is just gone and I've just wasted my 20s. But as I looked back on that relationship, you know, we're on talking terms. We're not like besties who call each other every week, but we're on talking terms. I look at what I've learnt from that relationship as a person, and it feels really weird to say, but when we broke up, you know, I did start this journey of self-discovery and bettering myself and learning how to love myself and learning how to date other people, and I became a lot better at all of those things because of that relationship that I went through. You know, it did take me some time to realize that, no, I didn't waste 7 years. I spent 7 years of my life dating someone. There were good times, there were bad times, but at the end of it, we didn't work out as a couple. So, you know, I did take away from that, wow, I learnt things that I like in a relationship, things I don't like in a relationship, things I will stand for, things I won't stand for. And, you know, I was able to carry into my next relationship a mindset that was a lot healthier because I was able to learn all those things. And I remember last time actually we talked, you were in a similar situation. It wasn't necessarily toxic, but it wasn't necessarily like super romantic either. Your long-term relationship, is that what it was?
Oh no, it was like I think I mentioned to you that probably about so it was 10 years. Right?
10 years. Oh
10
wow.
years long.
Okay.
Yeah, 10 years. But it was probably like over at like 6.5, 7. Like, and I think we didn't even. So I owned a house, and we didn't even sleep in the same rooms.
Wow.
Like we'd very rarely see each other. It'd be like, hey buddy, on our way, off we go to our individual and respective lives, and literally like housemates.
Yeah, wow.
And for a long time after I ended that relationship, I used to think, oh God, like what did I do that for? You know, 10 years for one, and then two, to also have it string out for more than it really should have been, when I think deep down we both knew much earlier on that like this wasn't going anywhere. And it took me some time. And after that relationship ended, I spent a good 1.5 years before I even considered talking to other people again.
Interesting.
It was like, all right. Yeah. And I had a lot of learning and introspection to do, getting to be comfortable with alone time and understanding who I was a person, because I knew if I wasn't comfortable in who I was, I wouldn't be able to give the best of me to the next person that I wanted to invite into my life. So that, I think, ultimately is like you learn that through experience, or maybe you get lucky and you hear the conversation, you do the work before you get into a relationship and you dodge all that. But you know, the thing that came out of it after that period of reflection, I was like, I'm really glad that I did go through it. Like I needed to spend that time, you know, where I was doing what I was doing. I then needed to spend the time afterward learning and being comfortable with myself so that I could meet my current partner, who, you know, I am very, very, very happily, I'm very glad that, you know, I'm the person I am now compared to who I was before. Because otherwise I think she would have murdered me by now. But, you know.
I think that's one of those things too, where, you know, I've had the same conversation with my partner where we say, oh, you know, I'm so glad I met you when I did, because if I met you, you know, 5 years earlier, I think you would have hated me. Like, you would have thought I was a complete prick. Like, that's...
Oh, yeah. 100%. Yeah. So, I mean, and that's the learning process.
Yeah.
And because it's really tricky when you do get in, I know this is about dating, but when you get into a new relationship, you start thinking about a little bit about people's past and histories and stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've never been a jealous person in my life. Right. And then, you know, we got into a relationship and I started thinking some of these things. I was like, what the heck is this? And then she's like, oh, maybe you're a bit jealous. I was like, holy shit, I think you're right.
What were you jealous of?
Is this what this is?
What were you jealous of?
That I just couldn't be there earlier, if that makes sense. Like, you know, because I don't even know if I can really articulate it very well at all. But early on, when I was, I guess, a little bit more insecure about, you know, like you talk about previous partners and things like that. And, you know, every guy, or maybe not every guy, and this is really good because it's in terms of masculinity, you start to measure yourself and you think, you know, am I the best that I can be for her? And like, how do I stack up in terms of everything else? Or, you know, I wish that hadn't happened to you, and if I had been around, it wouldn't have happened, etc.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you can't change those experiences, right? But internally, I'm thinking, oh, man, I'm sad that happened.
Yeah,
And
it'd be like
why
that.
should I be sad that it happened? Yeah. I was like, why? It doesn't change anything now. And in fact, we wouldn't be the people we are now if we hadn't have had those experiences. And
Yeah.
on the flip side, like her and I did a lot of talking about what it was like for each other. Because obviously, you know, she would think about what my history and past might look like. And it's like, well, she had some of the similar feelings that I did. And we are like, oh my God, like what? So like collectively, you know, we had to come to the realization, and we both did, of course, like, it's one of those things when it's new and it's fresh, you sort of test it out. And if you can communicate about it and actually be a bit more, as I said, vulnerable,
Yeah.
right, and you can really open yourself up to it, you're able to move past it, right? And then you can accept that life is life, and that regardless of whatever's happened, we're here in this present moment, and that this is the only moment that actually matters. Like, we wouldn't be who we are without having gone through everything that we
Yeah.
did. So
I think it was
yeah,
necessary. I like
yeah,
to think
off
that
to the dating topic, but
no, well, I think that's great.
100%.
Because I think all those experiences that we go through, it's definitely not a waste of time. It's necessary
No.
to, you know, if you are where you are now and you think, oh, I wish I met you earlier, would have spent more time with you, and feel bad that we don't. But I see everything that happened before you met as a necessary part of your growth and experience, that you got to meet this person.
100%.
If anything, feel grateful that, man, I met you at the ripe old age of 30, and I get to spend the next
Yes.
7 years of my life with you. You know,
Exactly.
I had to spend these first, 5, 10, 15 years of going through, trial relationships, I suppose, before I was ready for the real deal. I get to be Mario, and you can
Well,
be my Princess Peach kind of thing.
Exactly. I'll say be careful going into any relationship not wholeheartedly, though. Don't go in thinking this is a trial relationship.
No, of course,
I'm
of
gonna
course.
test this one out.
You put your everything into the relationship that you're in. That's
you
that
better.
always needs to be. Up until the point where you realize maybe it's like, oh wow, this isn't the relationship for me. But you give
Yeah.
it your all. However, that actually brings me back to one of the first points that we were going on before, which was, at what point do I say, I'm masculine enough because I'm seeing 50 people or I'm seeing one person? How do you kind of figure that out? And I think it does tie back to what I said previously, which is, whatever your goals are, just leave the person that you are seeing in a better place. Don't make them cry. Don't
Yes.
make them regret seeing you. Don't be a heartbreaker for the wrong reasons. I think it's very good to tell people up front what your intentions are. I think that's the healthiest thing that you can do in any given relationship. But
Yeah.
I actually also like what you said before too about don't just go into any relationship thinking it's a trial. Go into it thinking it's this is the real thing. But I think before you even get to that, I think a big part of your growth as a man is actually figuring out what you want in a relationship. I think it's very easy to go off what social media says, which is, find the one, lock them down ASAP, get married, have kids, because that's what the real man does. But, you might think the other side is like, oh, but, you're only a real man after you've slept with, 50, 100 people, and now you're actually
Gotta be
masculine.
triple digits, bruh.
I think, look, what would be the best advice you would give, Byron, to someone, let's say, who has never really dated before? And then we'll kind of go into people who are dating, and we'll kind of go up that way, right? But let's start at the start. For someone who doesn't really have much experience with dating, what would be your best advice to someone in that position?
I'd say be excited. Like, put everything else aside as much as possible. Like, don't listen to any of the bullshit that's out there. All right, enter it like a really wide-eyed doe in the front of the headlights. Like, you've got to be able to enjoy the experience, I think, from the beginning to actually give yourself the chance that, like, if the first date doesn't go well, then you're still excited for the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth. So, like, bringing that genuine energy that you actually want to be there with this person, I think is important. But even getting to being able to secure yourself a date,
Yep.
it is just simply, like you said earlier, having as many conversations with people as possible and then shooting something cheeky out there. Like, if you're at the fucking, ice cream shop and the girl behind the counter is really cute, like, you'd be like, oh, thanks for the ice cream, when do you get off work? I'd love to take you out for a coffee or whatever. There's no harm in that. And honestly, she might be like, oh, I've got a boyfriend. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Well, he's a lucky guy. Have a great day.
Yeah,
It doesn't make it a problem.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like someone's gonna point you out and be like, "Oh my god, he just totally asked
He
that
just
chick
asked
out
the guy,
behind the
and he just
counter."
got turned down. Oh my god.
Oh, what a bum! No, you know what you do? You go to the grocery store, you see the hot chick behind the counter, and you walk up to her and you're like, "Damn!" Actually, don't say "damn." That's a terrible idea. But
Oh,
just
Byron,
say,
this was some
like,
good
say
advice.
something that's genuinely, yeah. No, say something that's genuinely like you. Like, if the minute you try and force stuff, I think you're toast. Right? In terms of, as in, like, if you think you've picked up the most suave pickup lines on the internet and you're
Yeah.
going to be the suavest person ever, but you're actually a bit awkward and nerdy, then be a little bit awkward and nerdy. Because if they say yes to that awkward and nerdy person from the outset, then you're going to be in for a much better time than if you were the super dating king who found the best pickup lines, use that, you get to date one, and they're like, "Oh, where's this super confident, awesome guy who knows all the dating lines?" It's like a complete mismatch of expectation for the other person.
That's a huge point, and that I think is a really valuable one. Again, being genuine. So I think the two biggest pieces of advice that I hear that I need to debunk with every single person I talk to when I coach them is put yourself out there and be yourself. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Good piece of advice if you know what it actually means. Right? And you have explained them in a way. When it's put yourself out there, it genuinely means talk to people. You know, it doesn't matter where you're going, grocery store, ice cream store, going for a walk, going for a run, going to KFC like I did the other day. And you just talk to people, whether it be the person behind the counter, simply how's your day going, or the person who's also ordering. It's like, dude, you know, you've picked the good one. Like, make sure you get that slushy. That's the good stuff. And it's a small comment like that that can start a conversation and things go from there, right? So that is putting yourself out there, and just being yourself. It is exactly what you mentioned, that, you know, if you are a little bit nerdy, if you are a little bit, a bit shy, like that's exactly what I am. You don't feel afraid to express that. You might say to somebody who's, I don't know, like you said, working at the ice cream store, "Hey, this might be a little bit forward, but, you know, I think you're really cute and I'd love to take you out for dinner sometime. You know, sorry, this is a bit forward, just I'm a little bit shy. I don't usually do this kind of thing." Feel free to mention that.
Yeah.
You know, they'll appreciate it.
Yeah.
You don't need some, you know, really witty, over-the-top pickup line that you found on TikTok from RizLord69. Like, you don't need, you know, these giant displays of trying to impress somebody to start a conversation. It really doesn't need to be anything.
I will say, though, if you are witty and you have a really good sense of humor, leverage your strengths.
Oh, go for it.
All right, leverage. Don't be afraid to use the pickup line that you came up with, because, hell, it might work and it might be perfect.
It might be perfect. But again, that's coming from you. If you are that, you know, charismatic, funny, you know, I don't mind giving people a bit of a laugh kind of person. If that is you, go for it. You know, that is the definition of being yourself, right? But no, I think you have some very sound advice to someone who's kind of just, you know, getting into the dating scene, not really knowing where to start, is being genuine, being excited, wanting to discover what's out there.
I'll give you one more extra pro tip piece of advice.
Let's go.
If you really struggle with like walking up to people, I would suggest you get a job in real estate as a prospector, and they make you knock on every door in the neighborhood, because once you've learned to knock on hundreds of doors of random strangers in a neighborhood, you will never be afraid to talk to a random stranger on the street again. I promise you. So that's the extra pro tip piece of advice. Become a real estate agent.
Because it's also going to get you like a 98% like rejection rate too, right? You're going to get
make it 99.9.
99.9.
The rejection rate is insane. So
I think you'll very quickly realize too is that when you get rejected, it's not the end of the world. I think the difference between someone who is very good at talking to people and someone who's not is the person who is very good at talking to people has probably been rejected more times than the shy person has even attempted to talk to people.
100%. Like so we used to say in real estate that every no we got was one step closer to a yes. Right? You got to go through 100 no's to get a yes.
I like that.
So we used to tick off no's. Every time I got a no, thank you, Byron, I don't want that. No, Byron, I'm not selling my house. No. I would mark off a no. And then when I got to my 67th no, I was like, all right, I'm only like 33 away on average from getting a yes. High five. Let's go.
Almost there. That's not.
Give me my nose, baby. I want. Yeah. Look forward to the nose. The nose are good.
It's so interesting. But the plus side of dating, right? The plus side of going and talking to people with dating is those odds are way better than real estate. So,
Oh, yeah.
and the bonus is
Real
as
estate's
well,
hard mode.
for every approach that you do when you talk to someone, a random stranger, is you can refine your approach every time. You might ask
Yes.
yourself, okay, cool, what did I do well? I'm going to keep doing that. What kind of sucked? What felt a little bit awkward? I'm going to not do that anymore and try something different. So it's not going to be, one in 1,000, like 99.9%. 1 in 1,000 is not going to be a no. You might start off with being, okay, crap, if I talk to 50 people, maybe 10 of them were okay. 35 of them, were just, oh, I don't really feel like talking. And 5 of them would have been
Yeah.
like a complete, get fucked, I don't want to talk to you.
You're
It
a
happens.
rude boy.
It happens.
It does. Yeah.
Like I say this all the time. I don't know if it's happened to you because you are so jacked and good looking, but I've gotten the whole, I've had people call me creepy. I've had people call me try hard. I've had people call me a man slut. I've had the whole radar, both from both guys and girls. So it's from those experiences too that I kind of learned, okay, let's do more of this and let's do less of that. And that's essentially how it becomes a skill. You learn from all the mistakes that you've made and you just get better.
Yeah.
But no, very sound advice for someone, just getting into that dating part. I don't think I've got too much to add on to that. Like, you really do just need to talk to people. If you are just getting into dating and you don't know what you like, I would actually suggest is just date. Go on lots of dates. Don't feel like you have to get into a relationship with the first person that you get along with. Just date a lot of people, and over time you'll kind of figure out, okay, cool, like I like this in a person, I don't like this in a person. I'd like to see more of these qualities in a person and, less qualities of this in a person. So you kind of build up your little knowledge base of, okay, this person got these qualities, we're probably not going to get along. You're going to become a lot more finite with the kind of people that you get along with, right?
Well, you need to. I also think on that, this is where that reflection part that starts really good in terms of if you already have, I guess, a little idea in mind of what it is that you are looking for and not looking for.
Yep.
It makes it much easier to sort through those initial dates, right? Like if you go on a date with somebody and they are just not really ticking those boxes, you instinctively, hopefully, like in the pit of your stomach, you're like, oh, this is not going anywhere.
Yep.
If you're not listening to that, then you need that sort of checklist in mind of, oh, like I just don't really see it being a thing. And if you've got that, you are less likely to get stuck. Because I think sometimes people get worried that once they go on a date, they're going to hurt the other person's feelings. Because we don't like to be rejected.
Yep.
I don't want to reject them. You end up in this weird, awkward state and eventually just ghost someone and that feels bad, or you get ghosted.
And I think that
Communicate.
is a big issue with modern dating is ghosting.
Oh,
I think the best thing that you can do for someone, to someone, especially as a guy, if you're not interested in them, is to quite simply say, hey, look, I just didn't really feel a connection between us. So, I don't think I'd be keen to go on a second date, but I wish you all the best. It's something as simple as
it's
that.
that simple.
Oh, and look, guys, if you're listening in, that's what you need to do. No more ghosting from anybody. Okay?
If you do, we'll come after you with a stick because it like you just said, it is one of the simplest things to do. And I think the more practice that people as a whole get at it, the better it will be for everybody.
Absolutely.
Because then guys will do it to the girls or guys will do it to the guys they're pursuing and they'll do it vice versa.
Yeah.
Right? So if they learn what it feels like to be let down gently, they'll know how to let other people down gently.
Exactly. Otherwise, this cycle of bloody
We just
ghosting
solved the problem.
We did. Just if you lead by example, if you don't feel it with someone, let them know. If you do feel it with someone, let them know. Hey, I had a great time. I'd love to see you again. When can we go for dinner again? Like it's communication. This is communication 101. I will actually add to that point though. With ghosting, it is a lot more difficult for a girl. I don't know if you've ever seen r/nice guys on Reddit, but that is just the prime example
probably.
of why I believe girls would ghost more, is because the visceral reaction from guys who get turned down, like it sucks, it hurts, right? But if you get turned down, take it on the chin to say, oh, well, shit, that sucks that you didn't feel a connection. If someone does feel a connection, you've missed the opportunity, my brother. It's gone, it's done. You can't persuade them to think otherwise, right? So
now we're getting into the realms of healthy masculinity.
Masculinity. It is
because this is the other part of dating. It's not just starting the date. It's what happens when the date doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah. We'll go into like good and bad, and there's all right, if you want more dating advice, we'll talk about it more. But if the date doesn't go well, they didn't feel it. Well, they didn't feel it. You just take the L, brother. Just you go, hey, sorry, Jeremy, I didn't really feel a connection between us, but wish you the best. have a good day. It's like, oh, well, that sucks. Thought we had something, but, that's all good. I respect your decision. Wish you all the best.
Yes.
It's something as simple as that. You take it on the chin and you move on, because it's much easier for a girl to just ghost and not just reply to your messages anymore, because it's very easy for a guy to go, you've seen these examples. It's been like, oh, why not? What did I do wrong? I can't believe you like Chad over me. You like Byron more? What the hell? That's very bad. It's very toxic, very unhealthy. So the best thing to do is...
No, you go.
No, you go.
The best thing to do is...
The best thing to do
Don't leave them hanging.
Okay, the best thing to do is communicate. If you feel with someone, tell them. If you don't feel with someone, tell them. Don't ghost, right? If you get turned down, take the L, move on. If you get ghosted, it just means that...
That's what I want to ask.
Yeah, if you get ghosted, there's no point in lashing out. There's no point in saying, hello, where are you? Take it as a sign. If you like someone, if they likes you, they'll message you back. If there's nothing, it sucks. It would be much easier if they said, hey, look, I'm just not interested, because you get an answer. But you also have to understand that due to visceral reactions from other boys, it's probably why they ghost. So that's what you kind of have to understand.
And I know it's not easy to remember at the time, but if you think about the fact that if you get ghosted by someone, you didn't know who this person was, presumably not that long ago. So if you've developed feelings that quickly, that you're having a visceral reaction towards being ghosted that quickly, then the possibility of you developing feelings for the next person after you've moved on is also pretty good. It's like, if it's happened once, you can very well recover from that, and it can happen again. So
absolutely,
unless they promise to get married to you and have all your babies on the first date and profess their undying love, then I think it's okay to cut your losses, accept the loss, and be like, all right, I need to go fishing again.
You go fishing. But look, it's one of those things too. If you get a vibe with someone, you vibe. Like, you'll feel it, they'll also feel it, right? But if it's something which you feel like you have to force, then think about it a little bit. Brian, you remember our conversation from last week. If you haven't heard our last episode, I encourage you to go take a look at it, or go listen to it. But we had a small chat about, how should you open up to somebody? How should you, get closer or feel like you can trust them a bit more?
Oh.
And I think the same thing applies to dating, right? You can kind of get to know someone a bit better, and you can feel a bit more safe to like them a little bit more, right? And then maybe if you see each other again, spend more time, you can feel free to like them a little bit more. And, that's typically how the exchange of liking someone should go. But I don't really personally believe that you can fall in love with someone as soon as you meet them. So people say love at first sight. Personally, I'm not a believer. I do believe that, you can be attracted to somebody. I believe, you can have a good vibe and you can explore that vibe. But until you've had, some conversations together, you've spent a bit of time together, I don't think you can fall in love with someone at first sight. And I don't think it's a very wise thing to do to, go head over heels and profess your undying love to someone as soon as you see them or meet them, because, a relationship or fondness or love takes time to develop. It's not something that you can force when you see someone for the first time.
I think when people talk about falling in love at first sight, I think that's a retrospective look at it, right? For exactly the reasons you talked about. They have a vibe, there is some mutual attraction there, they continue to build and build and build and build, and then we get to, 6 months in and we're like, you know what? I fell in love with you at first sight, because the feeling of love that they have for them at that point is what they apply to what it was at the start.
Yeah.
But I think 100% that's not... The reality is, it is an exchange of information that builds to a point where you're like, okay, this person is someone I genuinely want to pursue. Like, again, I think about my current relationship. It started not even like it was just like, hey man, good job. Like, keep up on the fitness journey. You're doing awesome. Nice. I think you're great. Keep doing your sit-ups. And that was like 6 months. Like, we barely even knew each other existed, but it was enough to be like, hey, you're doing a fantastic job. Keep doing it.
Yeah.
We fast forward, we start talking a little bit more. You talk a little bit more. You're like, oh yeah, she's kind of smart. Like, oh, it's a bit witty. Oh, this is fun. Okay, all right. And then it slowly kept ramping up. And then, you go on you go on a couple of dates and things, and you're like, all right, everything's working pretty well. Let's jump into something a little bit more serial now.
Yeah.
And it goes from there. But at the very beginning, it was all those little exchanges, right? Yes. And I'm glad you talked about attraction, because I think at the start, there's a reason we approach some people and not others.
Yes.
Right. And it doesn't have to necessarily be a visual appeal. Maybe it's something about the way what they do, what they're involved in, whatever.
Yeah.
But you go towards that person because there is an attraction, and you start the conversation from there. But without it, if there's no initial spark, it's kind of like, why would I even bother?
I think with
Dude,
men,
you shouldn't.
This is what actually makes it a bit easier for men too, because it's very well documented. I can't quote a study or a year that the article was written,
I'm holding you to it.
but men are attracted to women typically,
Yes.
initially based off
hope so.
looks,
Yeah.
right? So it's actually a little bit easier for guys, where we can go. I'm not saying that women aren't attracted to looks, because they are, but just as a whole,
Yes.
on average, guys are typically more attracted to someone initially based on looks. So it makes it easier for us to go, hey, they're kind of cute. Let's go and talk to them to see if there's anything a bit deeper. Do we connect on a deeper level? It's a bit more difficult for a lady, because they feel love of someone based on a lot more about their personality. Right? So,
And it is so true.
yeah. So yeah, for anyone who's thinking, oh, dudes, like I'm a 2 out of 10 guy, I'm ugly as fuck, I've got no hope. Like, dudes, you can do little things to take yourself from a 2 or a 3 up to a 5 or a 6 very easily. And guys who are at a 6 or 7 out of 10, you can easily become an 8 or 9 out of 10 just by doing very small things, grooming things, dressing yourself better, working on your fitness.
Yeah.
That's physical
Being
appearance.
interesting, holding conversations, finding out what they're interested in.
So-
like all these crazy things.
These crazy
that
things.
are outside yourself.
Those things I can help with, the fitness stuff and the good look stuff, Byron can help you with, so we can, there's a
yeah.
mishmash there, right?
We'll have you together.
But no, we are happier together. That's why we work as a team, right? But
Yeah.
the point here is you can absolutely be attracted to someone, and they will generally, sometimes it's like, okay, look, I'm just not attracted to you. It's not my type. Jeremy, I'm just not into Asian dudes.
Yeah.
That's fine. Like, there's people like that, and that's fine, right?
Yeah.
Because for people who don't like me, there's going to be people who do like me. And so my goal is to find those people and
Yeah.
give them my best
And,
personality.
To add on that,
Yeah.
not every woman is attracted to muscles. I'm gonna, if you do not have muscles, right, you would be surprised at how many women think that too many muscles is a turnoff.
Look,
It's a real thing.
I will agree with that. For the pure fact is, I'm living proof in that I don't have a great deal of muscles, but my success in dating has been quite fair. And that is
It has.
something I learnt to do, not through going to the gym, but to work on myself and my personality. That's a whole nother story down there. But Byron makes a very good point. We're going to talk about muscles actually in another episode completely. How important is fitness and gym and look smaxing, as they say, in terms of
Yeah.
being a man.
Where do they come up with these terms?
Oh, dude,
like look maxing or
I watched a whole video last night just about like the English language and new words getting invented like every day, and morphing from old words. Like it's crazy. So yeah, looks maxing. We're gonna talk about that. I think one last
start mewing.
Yeah, well, actually, one last thing I wanted to mention just before we wrap this up is
Yep.
a big thing I think you need to ask yourself if you are attracted to somebody, and is why are you attracted to this person? Why are you in love with this person? I actually had this question asked to me when I was crushing really hard on when I was younger on someone who was a few years older than me. She was an older girl. She knew how to dress herself. She was very confident in herself. Knew how to carry herself very nicely. And for the most part, had we had many interactions? Not really. Not really. But she was very pretty, and I liked the cosplays that she did. And so I had a crush on her. Quite simply, one of my very wise friends, who could kind of see this, but wasn't really going anywhere, she said, Jeremy, why do you actually like this girl? What is it about her? And all I could think of was like, yeah, she's very pretty, good to look at. But there was nothing else. Nothing that I could really confidently say, yeah, we've got a connection. We've got really similar values and morals. We have a lot of fun together. I couldn't say any of those things. So this is something I've actually observed if you go on Instagram or TikTok right now, I guarantee you will find, millions of beautiful women on there, right? And I know for a fact that there are, or men, whichever way you want to go, or you'll find beautiful people. You'll find beautiful people on the internet, right? But before you go and fall in love with a person that you've never talked to, ask yourself, what is it about this person that, I genuinely love, that I like, that I admire? And, after that, it's going to be exactly what you said, have you had a talk? Do you actually connect in any way? Is there anything that you actually have that you can say, this is why I think we'd be a good fit, this is why we'd be a good match, right? Because there's...
How do people stop themselves getting stuck in that first little cycle, right? Like, you think about it took your friend asking you, Jeremy, what is it actually about this person that you're crushing on? Like, how do people self-check? Because like, I'm sure presumably we've all had those instances where we're like, oh, yeah, this is it. And then, presumably it never ends up, well, not never, but sometimes doesn't work out.
Yeah, it's a good question, because this is, I think, where people, in this day and age, they'll go online, they'll watch streamers, they're going to watch, models, they're going to watch, OnlyFans people, and there's nothing wrong with any of those people as human beings whatsoever. But, well, absolutely not, Byron. I don't shame anybody. But, when they are, just living their life and being beautiful and showing that off to the world, I think it's very easy for people to build a parasocial relationship, like an online relationship with these people.
That's a big word, Jeremy.
Parasocial. So you don't know what parasocial is. You can Google it if you want, but to my understanding, it's you kind of build this relationship based on nothing but, what you see or what you hear or what you view about somebody, and you like their personality without actually having a genuine interaction with them, right?
Kind of like running side by side, right? Parallel to them.
Yeah, you run parallel, but you can never actually see them. You'll never cross. That's a very good... I like that, right? So...
I like you too. I like it as well.
But yeah, I think the danger in these parasocial relationships is, people get stuck. They're thinking, I'll just go home and, look at my favorite streamer online because they're always, gonna, once in a while, they'll talk to me because I write them a message kind of thing. And that's all the comfort they need.
Yeah.
But that's not a real relationship. That's not real connection, as much as some people would like to think. To me, real connection is, I get to see you and talk to you. And sometimes, Byron, we get to hold hands. Sometimes we get to have a coffee together, And whether that be a romantic relationship or a platonic one, those are the kind of, intimate connections that you should be seeking out in your life, more than one that is hollow based on how much are you going to pay them so they'll talk to you, how much... that you're going to have this kind of relationship which doesn't really have anything, actually deep and meaningful in it. So to answer your question, how do you get yourself out of that is you really have to, and it's number one, just be aware that, there is no real deep connection there. I think a good question to ask, would you feel comfortable giving them a phone call? I mean, like, hey, do you want to go for coffee? Whether that be a romantic thing or, potential romantic thing or just a friend, my closest relationships, I would 100% feel comfortable just picking up the phone and being like, hey, what's up? Do you want to grab coffee?
Yeah.
And if you can say...
That's a good check.
Yes to that, that's how you know they're a close friend. And it doesn't mean that if you can't say, I don't have anyone like that, hey, there's room to work. There's room to grow. So that would be my best answer. Do you have anything alternative to that, or...
No, I think that's a really important answer, because I'd never really considered that for myself in terms of, like, if you're running side by side on someone and you have that initial attraction, but it never actually goes anywhere because there's never any substance to it, either because you haven't put in the effort or there can't be any connection, then how do you get yourself out of that? And then I guess this goes back to, is it actually tricky in the modern age to date? Well, we've talked about social media a few times, but I hadn't ever given any consideration to that you can develop relationships in your mind with people that don't even know you exist.
That's right.
Right? And if you've got that relationship in your mind already, why would I bother going out and talking to people in the real world?
Yeah. Because, I've got this connection with this person on Instagram. I watch them every day.
Yeah, we
I like
message once a week.
God, it's so important.
I have some insight into this, right?
Yeah.
So just quickly, the number of people in my DMs who profess their love to me and say that, like, they want to marry me or have my babies or whatever. I'm like, we have never met. You have watched some reels of me doing my things on Instagram.
Yep.
I've maybe replied to your messages 5 or 6 times in total. and yet you're already in love with me and like planning out babies and things like that. It's like that. Okay, so that's what they're doing. Hey, they've already
for any
formed and
context,
established. And I asked them, why haven't you got a boyfriend? Yeah.
For any context to this, Byron is quite popular online with his social media. So, for any context, yeah, he gets DMs like this all the time. Me, on the other hand, no, I have to work for my DMs.
But it's so interesting. I never considered that they're doing it.
Yeah, that's 100% a parasocial relationship. They watch you do videos. They watch you, just typing about your life. They watch you, have a talk in generally broad sense. It's like, taking a poll today. Should I eat pizza or should I eat a burger today? Like, oh my God, I told him to eat pizza and he selected my option at the end of the day. Holy crap, he loves me, right?
Oh shit. Okay.
So yeah, and like
I'm part of the problem.
Some people are going to be like, oh, you're fine. You're just doing your thing, right? This is raising awareness.
Yeah.
This is raising awareness. But if you're going to be into one of those things too, where it's like, oh yeah, should I try and talk to, this hot cosplay model who lives in England and I live in Australia? Like, yeah, I could try, but like, let's be real. How many other hundreds of people are also going to think the same thing and say, oh, I'm going to slide into their DMs and start a conversation? If you want to meet real people and have real relationships, you need to go and meet them in real life. That is
Amen.
That is the best advice I can give. Yeah, if you want to go meet hot cosplay models in England, go to cosplay events in
Fly to England.
Right? So that is typically, I think, end of the day, that would be my best advice for dating in the modern age. As more people are becoming too reliant and too comfortable with having all of their interactions online or through social media, the biggest power play that you can do is learn to get really good at socializing and social skills in person and start a crap ton of conversations in person. That is my best advice to dating people in 2025.
Yeah, and doing it as a healthy masculine man is
absolutely.
understanding what you're going into the relationship eyes wide open.
Yeah.
You said looking at putting the person that you're starting that date potentially with in a better position than what you entered into with.
Yep.
So you don't make their life worse off. And then what else did we say? What was the other very important part about being a man in this dating scene?
No ghosting. Good communication.
Oh, no ghosting. Yes, thank God.
No ghosting.
Yes,
That's
communicate.
Communicate.
That's how you do it as a healthy male.
Okay, let's to wrap this up. The easiest thing, if you're getting off, if you have no idea how to do it, and you don't know how to be suave or charming or blah blah blah, is be very honest and blunt, rather than trying to sneak around, kind of hint and indicate, hey, I kind of like this person. Do exactly what Byron said. Be very blunt and upfront. Walk up to that person, behind a counter. It's like, hey, I know this might be a bit out of the blue, but I think you're really cute, and I'd love to take you out for dinner sometime. Like, would you be free? Would you be
keen? They do actually like it a lot of the time. They're flattered, even if they have a boyfriend.
Even if they've done it. If they say no, it's like, hey, look, I'm not really interested. Sorry, I've got a boyfriend. You're not beating around the bush. That might be, the story of the day. It's like, oh my God, someone actually asked me out today. I was very flattered. Didn't want to do it, but I'm very flattered. So if you don't have no idea how to do it, just be blunt, be upfront, be honest. That's the easiest thing you can do. There's an art to it, which you can be subtle and it works, but you have to get... Let's start with walking before we start running, shall we?
And then the other healthy male thing is take your L's, right? Take your L's like a man. Yeah.
Men lose. Men fail. And the manliest thing you can do...
And it's okay.
...is just take it on the chin and say, you know what, I fucked up. This is my bad. And
it's quite powerful to do.
Oh, it's huge. You grow muscles in your brain. It's awesome.
You get a larger peen.
Your peen will grow when you take the L and you learn from it. Oh, it's great.
Every rejection ends up in another millimeter.
That's a good way of putting it. You know what? Byron and I grew 10 millimeters today. It's
jeez.
Oh, it's beautiful. Anyway, this one went a bit over time. That's fine. We tried to aim for an hour. It's an hour 10, but what we're going to try and do is keep it within that time limit. We're gonna keep talking.
We can edit some stuff out.
Yeah, we can edit stuff. It's fine if we need to. Who knows? Maybe this is it. I'm gonna just throw it in raw. That's what it's gonna be.
Exactly. We are.
If you made it this far, thank you very much for listening in to our discussions, our ramblings, our stories, and just another shout out again. If you really like our vibe, if you really want to support what we do, we've got a Patreon. It's called the Just Men Podcast Patreon. Go check it out. You can Google it and you'll find us there. Just every kind of dollar at this point in time really just helps to keep this podcast running and helps us to improve what we've got. As you can see, I'm shooting in my workroom, and Byron's got a fancy backdrop at the moment.
Curtains.
At some stage, we would like to upgrade to the point in which we can meet in person and do these things live. We can, I don't know, throw beer at each other, whatever it might be, and
Hold hands.
Hold hands. You can give physical examples of what it's like. But till then, we're still cities apart, and we'll make this work bit by bit. But no, thank you very much for tuning in. Again, feel free to check us out, the Just Men Podcast. You can find us on Instagram, on Patreon, and very much on pretty much every every podcast platform out there. So, but we'll be back again next week with another episode. And how we actually decide our episodes is by rolling a dice of seeing what topic we're going to pick today. So, yes. Thanks for tuning in. This far, and we
appreciate you.
We appreciate you so much. We'll see you next week.